Hi, everybody.
Hello, I'm Ryan.
I'm Bethany.
And we are Ryan and Bethany Board Game Reviews.
And today we're going to be talking about a letter jam from CGE. But before we do, let's get into our pounds and inches segment. This is where Ryan and I talk about what we're trying to do to achieve better health in our life.
All right, so one of the things I wanted to do this January to try to help promote my weight loss was to bring my lunch to work. So I've been doing a pretty good job of doing that so far. Basically, it helps to keep my hunger at bay throughout the day. So that way, when I get home, I don't just go nuts and just eat everything in sight. Also helps me from going out and just having a giant out to eat fast food kind of a lunch too. And so it's been saving money, it's been saving calories, and it's been helping to kind of regulate my calorie intake throughout the day. So I've been enjoying that. I lost some pounds, saved some money so far. I suggest bringing your lunch to work.
All right, but enough about that. Let's talk about letter jam.
Alright, so Letter Jam is a full cooperative game where everyone has a letter in front of them on a kind of a stand, but it's faced away from them. So everyone can see everyone else's letter except for their own. And you're making up words with these letters that you can see at the table, trying to help people figure out what their clues are. But rather than talk about it, let's show you what that might look like. So here is the setup for Letter Jam. Basically, everyone's going to have a letter in front of them, and you're going to have a letter in front of you too, except for it's facing away from you. Everyone can see everyone else's letter except for their own. Now, this is a full cooperative game, so what we're trying to do is we're trying to use the letters that we can see to build words, so that way people can kind of help figure out what letter they have in front of them. You do that by placing these really nice poker chips on the letters in the order. So let's take a look at what one of the clues might look like. Okay, by looking at the order that things are placed out there, we can have a look at our little chart here, and we can kind of take an idea of what things are going on. We have this little chart here that's going to kind of help us along. There are no J's, Q's, V's, X's, or Z's in the game. But let's write down what we can see and see if we can kind of deduce what else there could be. Alright, so with those clues in front of us, the W is the 1, the 2 is the A, then our number is the 3, then ER for 4 and 5. So what could that clue be? To me, it looks like there are 3 choices. It could be, a F for wafer, it could be a G for wager, or T for water. So we can either kind of take a gamble of what we think the other person might be trying to tell us, or we can just kind of hold out for someone else to use our letter in another word and see if we can figure it out from that. Not every clue is going to help you get to your letter right away, but it might help other people as well. Like, for instance, the person who has the W in front of them sees blank, A-T-E-R, and so maybe they have a better idea of what someone's trying to communicate to them. Now, there are always 6 letters that you can see, even if there's less than 6 players. You have kind of a dummy stack of cards that represent a player, so that way you always have that same amount of letters to work with. Every player is going to have a stack of, 4, 5, or 6 letters, depending on how hard you want to make the game, that they have to get through before the end of the game in order to win. 5 is kind of the standard, and that's a perfect number to work with. There's also an asterisk in the middle of the table, and that can represent any letter of the alphabet. So if there's not, let's say, any vowels out there and you really need to spell a word using a vowel, you can use the asterisk instead, so that way you can always get to at least some kind of a word. Another aspect of the game is these little cards here. These represent all these different tokens that you can have on them, and those are clues. That represents how many different clues you can give out before the end of the game. Really, we don't put a whole lot of emphasis on that when we're playing. It's more about just creating clever words, using the letters that you can see and trying to do it in as little as possible. If we run out of tokens, we usually still finish because that's the fun of the game, is making those words. And similarly, there is kind of a score on the back of those cards. You can rank yourself and see how well you did based off of being able to guess all the letters that people gave you and unscramble them to make make a word. And while that part is fun too, it's totally extra. You can kind of do that if you want to or not. Again, the real fun of the game is right here, making the words, trying to use as few clues as possible, and being as clever as you can be. I love the way Letter Jam makes your brain think. The way that you have to kind of fill in the gaps and deduce what your partners are trying to tell you, trying to get you to that certain letter. There might be more than one choice, but you don't have enough clues to get to what you need to get. You don't have the full information, but you have to make a choice anyways. I love that part of this game. It is a lot of fun.
I like how, regardless of the player count, you always have at least 6 letters to work with. Well, 5 letters to work with, because you can't work with your own letter, but you still always have those options available, and that if you use one of the dummy ones, it's not that it stays up there, you get a new letter to work with, so it's always fresh and always changing.
I think that having the asterisk card out there at the middle of the table really gives you more options to work with, because sometimes you just don't get any vowels, let's say. So you have something to work with. There's always an out. There's always a way to get to some kind of word.
Yeah, and I like that the flower card and little gems that are on that. I think that sometimes in cooperative games it's really easy for some people to not really participate as much, and that ensures that everybody playing the game will participate, and I like that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a chance that one person might be giving a few more clues than the rest of people at the table, but really the game can't truly be dominated by that person. Everyone has to have some participation.
Yeah, and this game doesn't. It doesn't stress me out word wise. It's not that I'm a terrible speller. I just always second guess myself like all the time. And also I am a terrible speller. Like I cannot play bananagrams for the life of me because I'm always disqualified. But this game didn't do that for me. I mean, you're only coming up with 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 letter words, and it just, the stress for that wasn't there for me. If you have trouble with words or spelling in general, this game really isn't a deterrent from that, and it's a word game. How weird is that?
I like the rules say in the FAQs, is this a legal clue? Yes, no matter what the word is, you think it's a real word, it's a legal clue. It could be, a real noun, adjective, that kind of thing, or it could be a character, or it could be an adjective, or it could be just an inside joke. And so that kind of adds a really fun layer that you can give a clue that's not a real word that the other person knows. That's what you're trying to tell me. And it just adds a really fun layer to this game. We've played this with a lot of different player counts, and while a 2-player game does work, it is a lot more fun, I think, to have the higher 4, 5, 6 player count. It does a couple of things for you. First of all, you get to hear different people's voices, different people coming up with different kinds of clues that their brains might work differently, and it adds extra things to the table. Also, you might be able to help this half the table, or maybe you can help out some people but not everyone at the table. In a 2-player game, you were kind of forced to always help the other person across from you, even if the letters that they have in front of them don't really jive with the other letters that are face up. So it does work, and it is fun. I prefer it definitely with the higher player counts.
Oh yeah, most definitely. This game was a lot of fun for me. I was kind of hesitant of it, to be honest, because like I mentioned before, words just... I second guess myself all the time, so I just always struggle to enjoy games like that. But for some reason, this game was able to strip that barrier away and just let you enjoy a word game. And I thought it was incredible that it was able to do that.
Yeah, I think the way it makes your brain think is really fun. You do get a score. You are kind of graded on how well you did. Don't pay that any mind. While it's good to have a fun score or whatever, it doesn't take a... It's more fun coming up with the words around the table. That's the real part of the game. The score is just a thing. So you can ignore the score if you want to and just have fun creating words in this kind of cooperative setting.
All right, well, that's our full thoughts on Letter Jam. If you want to see our reviews as they come out, subscribe to us on YouTube or Facebook. You can find us under Ryan and Bethany Board Game Reviews. You can also follow us on Instagram if you want to see the games, pictures of games that we're currently playing under Ryan and Bethany. And if you want to reach out to us and chat with us, you can find us on Twitter under Ryan and Bethany 1. Lastly, if you want to see what Ryan and I are doing, kind of a behind the scenes to achieve better health, follow our blog on Board Game Geek, and that will be under Pounds and Inches.
All right, thanks so much for tuning in, guys. We'll see you next time.
Bye.